Awesome. Welcome everyone to our December convening of the Kansas Food Pantry Collaborative. My name is Maisie Campbell. I'm so excited to see you all today. As usual, we are recording, but just the content piece, and we'll stop recording when we get to some discussion time towards the end of the call. Today, our agenda is use to have some time for introductions and some share outs. We'll share a brief recap of our last meeting and then jump into a discussion about scarcity, abundance, and funding, and then jump into some breakout rooms to continue the discussion and come back together for some next steps in closing. So I'm going to pass it to Avanti to lead us in some introductions.
All right, thanks, Maisie. Hi, everyone. So just as a reminder, if you can, please try to change your name in your change your name to say your name, the county and region that you're from, and um, and we would like everybody to share one icebreaker question. So, what is one win for your food pantry in the past quarter? So, we have a small enough group that you feel free to come off mute and share your win for your food pantry, or feel free to type that in the chat, and we'll give you all a couple of minutes to share some wins that you've experienced in the past quarter.
Hi, this is Mary with Breadbasket um, in Topeka, not Flint Hills. Anyway, I thought I had my camera on, but I don't see myself. So, nevertheless, anyway, so a win for me this last quarter was I had a fire at my food pantry, arson, and I was able to remain open and served our neighbors in need. So that was a huge win. And we are in Topeka.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing. And I think definitely when we get to the breakout rooms, you talking more through that process, I think would be helpful for other food pantries. But that is, I'm glad to hear you were able to remain open during that time. Anyone else want to share a win with the whole group?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, asking if you have a win that you want to share with the group for your food pantry.
Yeah, I'm Gayona McDonald from Colby, Kansas, and Northwest Kansas from Genesis, Thomas County. We just had our Christmas box giveaway on the 6th of December, and we tried something new this year. We usually just give our clients one regular box, and this year we decided to give them two choices
Oh,
of the
nice.
regular box or a Hispanic box. And it seems that since we did that, we were able to have more families sign up. And so everything, it was a challenge trying to order for the different boxes, but other than that, everything went really well.
That is really great to hear. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, I'll just jump in and say that choice is so important. Sometimes it's as simple as offering a choice between two different options, but yeah, it sounds like your neighbors really appreciated being able to choose which foods would best serve them and their families. So I love that you were able to do that.
It looks like there's also a couple wins coming in the chat. Amy Jo from Rise Cowley, the partnership between the Winfield Food Pantry and the Winfield Correctional Facility has been growing and going strong and has received Hunger Free Kansas grant money for a greenhouse. And then Food Pantry from Mitchell County, we basically restocked next year due to many generous donations, both large and small. That's really great to hear as well. Tara from United Methodist Church. During the month of November, we sent out grocery lists to our church members highlighting the current Dylan's coupons. We had so many donations to our pantry, so another win with donations. I think that's going to be great for this discussion today. And then Candace, HCC Pantry was able to complete all the AGR standards and weigh all of their food today. So that is great to hear. Thank you all for sharing these wins, and please continue to share them in the chat as we're moving forward with the conversation today.
Oops. So trying to navigate my screens. Yeah, thank you all so much. And as Avanti said, please keep sharing them in the chat. We're just gonna keep moving forward. So last call we introduced, excuse me, this Google Classroom as a platform to stay connected between our quarterly calls, knowing that having the opportunity to chat every 3 months or so is fantastic, and we want to keep the conversation going. As you can see here, this is just a brief screenshot. It is where we will be posting updates and sharing resources such as the slides and recording and strategies developed during our last call on food rescue. One thing I do want to flag, since I will fully admit I'm still learning this platform along with you all, is that if you use the class comment feature, you can see that in this screenshot below, others will be able to see it. There are a couple poll questions um, where if you submit a response using the regular function, it would just go to the organizers of the group and other folks wouldn't be able to see it. So if you have not yet joined the Google Classroom, you can use any of these methods. So the first one is to follow the class link, and I think we can drop that in the chat. If it's easier for you to go to classroom.google.com and click Join Class, we have a class code that's here on the screen. Or perhaps the easiest option is to fill out this Google form that I think we can also drop in the chat to join the collaborative listserv, and you'll get an invitation to your email to join the Google Classroom. I did just want to take a minute to see if anyone has any questions or suggestions for this platform moving forward. Has anyone been able to join, been able to participate in any of the conversations on the Google Classroom? Okay. Well, feel free to drop any feedback in the chat, or if you're filling out the Google form, you can enter it there as well. Or just email me directly, and I'm always happy to support you if you're having trouble joining the class, or take any feedback if there are ways we can make this platform better and make your experience better as we continue sharing and collaborating offline. So to jump into today's topic, we thought this was particularly relevant because it's been kind of a crazy few months, if we're all being honest. I know the holidays are always a busy time at food pantries, but with the recent government shutdown and new changes to the SNAP program, for a lot of folks, it's created a food security emergency that, once again, food banks, food pantry, and community members have been stepping up and responding to. And one of the terms that just goes hand in hand with emergency is scarcity. Um, what does that really mean when you are so obsessed with the lack of something, usually time or money, that you can't seem to focus on anything else, no matter how hard you try? This is the definition of a scarcity mentality. And it's that focus on lack that can get really challenging and lead to a lot of these effects you see on the screen. As a quick example, this comes up in scarcity studies a lot, and I find it so fascinating, is if I asked you all to try to name as many white things as you can that aren't a polar bear. Suddenly, half of your brain is just thinking about polar bears. I kid you not, it happens every time. And so that's what happens when you start thinking of, I don't have enough of something. Half of your brain is just thinking about, we don't have enough, we don't have enough, we don't have enough. And what that leads to is reliance on coping strategies, right? Just trying to get by the next day, the next week, the next month, which can really hinder planning. In the studies and the research on scarcity, this is sometimes called tunneling, where you're limiting your scope of focus to what's immediately in front of you. So something like getting food today, that's in the tunnel. Something like paying rent next month, that falls outside the tunnel. So you can really see how that might have an impact on things like planning for the future if you're really just focused on what's happening today. And it can also limit things like collaboration. That's one of the first things that often gets pushed onto the back burner of, oh, that would be lovely, but I don't have the capacity for that today. And for me, one of the most common examples of seeing scarcity mentality in my work is actually when talking about initiatives like nutrition work at pantries. Um, it's something everyone recognizes as so important that we want to support our neighbors' health and well-being. Um, but we're waiting for things to die down, or we're waiting for a good time to start offering healthy food and to start ranking foods with the HER guidelines. Or that we have to maximize how much food we can purchase with a really limited purchasing budget. But the truth of the matter is, there's never a good time. There are always things going on in the charitable food world, things are always busy. And if healthy food were cheap and accessible, people would buy it for themselves. So this focus on not having enough can really limit some of these larger planning, larger initiatives that can really support our communities. If you're here today thinking about food security, you've probably been keeping up with the news and maybe getting a little bit of whiplash about all the stories concerning food security in the news. Um, as we saw with COVID, and as we're seeing again, the charitable food system, the charitable food network is so resilient and can be so responsive to increases in need. And as my boss likes to say, don't let a good crisis go to waste. What does that mean? I was recently talking with some folks in Shawnee, Kansas, who shared how they were able to pivot during the government shutdown to really accelerate a collaborative program among pantries in the county and really activate that network in response to the crisis in order to better serve neighbors and get food out to people who needed it. So it's a great example of something they had actually been hoping to do for a while. Um, and then in the face of an emergency, really had the impetus and the drive to get it done today. And that's a great example of not just how we can respond to a crisis, but how we can really embrace this idea of abundance. Um, these are a few more examples that have come across my plate, my news feed. One example is Propel, which they're a company that has an app for SNAP participants to check their EBT balances. And during the government shutdown, they did a huge fundraising campaign and were able to provide funds directly to people using the app, identified as high need neighbors, right? So it's a great way to activate a network and use existing technology, existing lists to be able to support people in need. Another example is this organization GoLo, which was able to, again, activate very quickly and donate large sums of money across different nonprofits in Delaware in response to this emergency. So it's a great reminder that there is a lot of abundance around us, and sometimes we just have to choose to see it. And it can be a great opportunity, oops, going ahead of myself, um, to start leveraging some of those opportunities that come in the face of a crisis or in the face of being in the news all the time. For charitable food in particular, we are entering the season of giving, so it can be a really great opportunity. I know someone already mentioned that they were able to do a lot of fundraising and meet some goals, already able to do their holiday distributions. And this is such an important time for people to give back and support their community. And it's just recognizing that abundance. Here at More Than Food Consulting, we actually led a webinar on this topic last month, and we were joined by two fantastic speakers. I'll share the link to the full recording after this call, but I am borrowing some of the content here. And two of the things that stood out to me from those guest speakers were um, this framing that abundance is both a choice and a practice that we can model for ourselves, our teams, and our communities. And it really starts with that ability to recognize abundance. What do we already have? And how can we leverage that? And I do want to share too, one of the comments one of the speakers made that I thought was really impactful is you can have a lot of something, you can have an abundance of something, and it still might not be enough for everyone or to do everything that you want to. So you can recognize that abundance and recognize that it's a yes and situation. Yes, there's a scarcity. Yes, there's a need. And here's what we have. Here's what we're able to do about it. Another step that is really important in that process in shifting to an abundance mindset is seeing and celebrating the best in others. So, with our neighbors, our community members, recognizing their resilience, asking for and sharing their stories or photos to reduce stigma and stereotypes about people who might be seeking food assistance. In our staff and volunteers, recognizing their talents beyond food. Some folks might come with expertise in marketing or with social work skills or in hospitality, and they might be the perfect person to help bring new skills to the team. And of course, with community organization, being able to recognize each other's strengths and then think through how can we be stronger together through partnership and remove some of those silos. This graphic was developed by Joe Byrne, who is a visual note taker and attended one of Katie's, my CEO's, talks in Pennsylvania a few months ago now. And I just love this graphic as a way to distill a lot of these key ideas of being able to build on strengths, identify champions, putting the neighbor at the heart of what we do. And I really, really love that graphic of breaking down those silos. Um, and that brings me to this next idea of how collaboration and collaborating can be a form of abundance. Now, we call this group the Food Pantry Collaborative. And to me, that means more than just meeting quarterly. We could have chosen to call it the Food Pantry Network, which would indicate the aim would be to stay connected and share information. But I think we are looking to do more than that here in Kansas. So, what can that look like? There are always opportunities to collaborate simply with the days and hours of operation, thinking about if all the pantries in town are open Tuesday mornings, is that the best way we can serve our community? Maybe we can each take a different day of the week and expand that availability to our community members. Maybe there are opportunities for collaboration with volunteer recruitment and training so that instead of each pantry hosting their own volunteer training and recruitment strategies, everyone in the county does it together and they get placed at a different pantry or all attend the same training and really bring that consistency of experience, consistency of care across the community when people are coming to seek food assistance. One piece I think is a really large opportunity these days is joint fundraising. How can organizations work together to apply for larger pools of money, larger pots of money um, in a collaborative way? It can be really challenging, but that is often something that funders really like to see as well, that there's collaboration within the community and that these funds are going to a more sustainable program. And that's actually this organization on the screen, Mainspring, the Seacoast Social Services Collective, started out that way. They were a food pantry and they started collaborating with an organization that offered social services. And they're like, wouldn't it be amazing if we could coordinate our services, if we could collaborate our services and create a one-stop shop a hub for our community where people can come for food and be connected to so much more. And that's what led to Mainspring. We had this really great conversation with them about how are you even able to make this happen? And one of the pieces of advice that leadership gave us was sometimes when you collaborate with others, you really just have to put your ego aside and recognize that there are going to be funding opportunities and it might be better for your partner than for you. But as long as there's trust, we know it's all going to go to serve the same purpose. And sometimes a great first step is just visiting another pantry in your community or in the community near yours. Um, this is one thing that I'm always surprised by when I chat with pantries in an area, and I'm like, "Hey, do you collaborate with other pantries in the area?" They might say, "Yeah, we share extra food when it's available, or we keep in touch." And I'm like, "Oh, have you gone out to visit? Do you see how they operate? Maybe they offer a choice model. Have you been able to see how that works for them?" They're like, "No, we haven't." I think that's a really, really important step is to just start broadening that idea of what can a food pantry be and start that collaboration. Maybe it's even volunteering with another pantry in the area just to show your support and start building that trust. I'm going to stop here for questions. Anything that's come up so far? Alrighty, I'm not seeing anything in the chat. I thought it would also be really helpful to hear from a local example in the Kansas community. And so I'm really glad that Marcia Davis is able to join us from Allen County. And I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen. Marcia, do you mind sharing a few words about your work in Allen County and how you were able to work collaboratively, especially around funding?
Sure. So with Thrive Allen County, we work with all the different food pantries in our county, which are Humanity House and Iola Food Pantry, Elsmore Food Pantry, the Harp has a food pantry, and Humboldt. And so a couple of things that we've done is when we find grants that will help um, provide funding for food pantries. We include all the food pantries and share that funding out. Um, we have used hunters feeding the hungry. And so during the deer season, um, when they have excess deer, like I'm not exactly sure how it works. Hunter kills a deer, somehow he donates it to hunters feeding the hungry, and then um, we get 250 pounds of deer meat. And so then we divide that up amongst the pantries in the county. We have helped with not only securing funding for food, but also for um, medical prescriptions when participants need that, or even utility funding. We've also helped our local Humanity House find funding for uh, staff to have to maintain their director position. Um, it's just one of the things that's on our radar all the time when we're out looking at grants or finding grants is if there's any funding for food insecurity, for utility assistance, um, any of those things that the food pantries would help with. Does, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I really
Yeah,
appreciate you
okay.
sharing that, Marcia. And I
Sure.
love that example of the hunters and the venison as being
Mhm,
just such a
mhm.
great example of abundance. Like the meat is there, it's available, it can go to support hungry community members.
It's only
Um,
available during the hunting season, so it's kind of a
sure.
short window, but it all the pantries really appreciate getting any kind of protein.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have a question.
Please.
This is Kathy Roberts from Mitchell County. Um, for you and for, we used to have deer meat, and the hunters would donate to our county, except then the wasting disease came through, so that all had to stop. Is that off now to where people can come back and donate deer meat?
Yeah, I'm not sure if hunters individually can do it or if it's because they're going through this agency, Hunters Feeding
That's it.
America,
I,
if that has
I
a
wondered, well,
broader.
see, they go to the our local butchers here, professionals,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden they wouldn't even take deer meat into their, because they didn't, the amount of cleaning and what they have to do before they can bring beef back in or pork or whatever.
Oh,
So I'm just curious about that. That's interesting.
so I do know that when the Hunters Feeding America, they do have to go to a professional butcher, and it is
Hmm.
professionally butchered and frozen.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So
Because
yeah,
they
check
stopped
that
it
out.
out, well, they stopped it out here, and I
Mhm.
haven't had any donated since. So I haven't. I guess I should call our local meat packer and see what's going on. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, and it looks like Erica also dropped a link in the chat to the Kansas Hunger Hunters Feeding the Hungry if you want to learn more about that
I'll have to look at
organization in
that.
particular.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
have to look at that. So yeah.
Yeah. And Marcia, can I ask one more question
Sure.
about the food pantry collaboration in Allen County and how anything that you've seen that has really led to the success of that collaboration?
I think it's just the willingness of the pantry directors or staff to work together and not so much be so territorial of resources or um, people that they're serving. You know, that they're just willing to serve whoever is in need and help each other out. When one pantry, like Humanity House, has excess that they're willing to share to us, a smaller community pantry.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I think that's something we can all learn from, and it's
Yeah.
pretty common in nonprofits in general, not just food pantries, of feeling a little protective over the people that you're serving and the work you do. But isn't it amazing what we can do when we pool our
Oh,
resources together?
and one thing, we're a small rural area, and some of these pantries are really small. Um, so helping each other out really helps share the resources and spreads them out when one has excess or yeah, access to a grant or something.
Absolutely. Fabulous. Any other questions before we transition into some breakout rooms? Okay. Thank you so much, Marcia.
Yeah, you're
Um,
welcome.
and I know Avanti has been working hard behind the scenes to set up some breakout rooms. Avanti, do you mind talking us through how that process is going to work?
Yeah. So I've pre-assigned you all based off of the region that you shared at the beginning of the presentation today. So we'll have
Inspire. I love that. Yeah. Some appreciation in the chat. Fabulous. Well, I am thrilled to share that we've picked dates for 2026. So we are going to continue holding these quarterly sessions. These are the dates, keeping the quarterly cadence Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Central. The one change that we're making is actually there's going to be a registration link. So if we can drop that in the chat, you'll be able to register for all 4 of the calls and have them automatically added to your calendar, which I know can be a help. Thank you so much. And I'll also drop a link to the new flyer for these dates if you want to have that printed out or post that up anywhere. Again, if you have any ideas for topics, any feedback, or want to sign up for announcements, please do complete the Google form or join the Google Classroom, just so we can stay in touch. And I'm going to pass it for a highlight of the blueprint for a hunger-free Kansas.
Thanks so much, Maisie, and good afternoon, everyone. It's so great to join you and to hear about so much of the amazing work that's happening in your communities. And I know we spoke about it at the beginning, but I just want to say, in agreeing with Maisie, it has been quite a ride over these last several months in particular, and that I can't thank you enough for the tremendous work that you've been doing in your communities, and just hope that over the holidays too that you can take a breath and enjoy some relaxation as well. So I know we're almost at time, so I just wanted to remind folks that we do have the blueprint for a hunger-free Kansas, and it is comprised of 3 goals and 10 strategies, and it's not in any particular order of priority. So I get that question sometimes. But I will include a link, and we are continuing as we go into 2026. Really, there is great work that is taking place in each of these strategies. And I just want to call out strategy 7 for this call and the nutrition and meal sites work that we are doing together and learning from one another. But if you have any questions about hunger free, where we're going in 2026, feel free to reach out to me directly. And I also encourage you to sign up for our newsletter and spread that around to other folks in your community. So with that, Maisie, I'll turn things back over to you to close us out.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much. That is everything for today. It's been a pleasure to see you all, and we will be sharing this recording and slides to the Google Classroom in case you want to revisit anything. So with that, have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.